Welcome to the podcast, brothers. Thank you for joining us today. We have a special guest with us for a part 2. Even though you guys will only get to see small clips from part 1, that's okay. Today, we're going to have a great podcast, and you're going to get to see the full version of everything. So we'll skip the long talk, and we'll kind of get right to it. We got none other than Big John. Big John, the man himself, the legend. So, John, you got in a workout with us today, and today was day 715 in a row of working out. Tell us a little bit about how that journey's been going, brother, because I can't even do the math how many years that is. Said 2?
He's like almost 2 months, so he's like, I know exactly how long it is.
Well, first and foremost, I'm only a legend in my own mind, and thank you guys for having me back again. I always enjoy coming home to the 805. You guys already know that. And it's an honor to be around you guys. Like the bond that we formed on part 1, that's how comfortable it felt today for me, part 2. And 715 days coming up on 2 years. So I'm 15 days shy of exactly 2 years of working out every single day. I tell people like a bodybuilder, because how you see me train is how I train every day. There's no light days or rest days, or I just go after it, and
it's weights every single day. Like you said, 715 days of weights. Not just, I did my burpees, I did push-up. No. It's 715 days in a row of hitting weights.
Yeah, weights. Lifting weights, and most times lifting a fair amount. I'm not the strongest guy in the gym. I'm getting older, but I lift more than the average bear. And 715 days straight. Mm-hmm. So thank you for having me on 715, for being part of 715. It's interesting. Yeah. Last time I was here was right at 600.
Yeah.
Right? And every day is a maturation process. Every day so talk about books, talk about perspective, all the things we learn. As you get further and further away from day 1, you lose the perspective of what it was like on day 1. So now my perspective is so, I wouldn't say obstructed by what I've done, but everything is in the context of now 715 days in a row, which is good and bad for my profession, the content creation, life in general. Yeah. It's become so non-negotiable and just part of my day that for most people, it's not relatable. Yeah. Now, with that said, I'm trying to build an island of my own. I'm trying to burn my own ship, because this is a very saturated world of social media and influencers and attention. How do you differentiate yourself? And I've been asked that question. How do you differentiate yourself? I don't miss. And even if I miss tomorrow, I still have 715 days under my belt, and I can brag about that for the rest of my life, when the majority of people have a hard time working out 3 days in a row. So it's a thing that I didn't set out to do, but as time has gone on, now I see the value in it. And then obviously we're in an attention gathering, like I got to get everybody's attention on this. I got to be different. So this is a way for me to do it. And we talked about it earlier. I personally feel this is God-given ability. I know it's not normal. I know not everyone can do it, but I can. And I don't have any other reason to explain why, other than to just understand that this is something that's outside of me. And now it's my responsibility to execute on it. Because the way that I live is helping other people change their life and give them a different perspective and give them motivation. So it all ties into what's going on. The personal benefits are obviously how I look in the mirror, how I feel about myself, how I've restructured my entire life and started businesses. And, I can, even if I don't make money one day, I'm still having a good day. Yeah. And so all of these things have led us to, here we are, day 715.
So what would you say then, out of everything that you mentioned, what is the number one most valuable thing that you can take away from 715 days in a row?
Treating each day as its own. So I like to tell people there's 2 days that are very important on the journey.
I like that.
Day 1 and today.
Mm-hmm.
Because those were the critical ones.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else doesn't, day 712 doesn't even matter anymore.
Yeah.
Whatever was, I don't know, whatever it was, that leg day or whatever it was back then,
Yeah.
it's already gone forever. I can't go back and change it.
Mm-hmm.
It's in my memory bank. I use it for my mental strength, but it's gone. But I had today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not guaranteed tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I still got a long ride home. It's a gauntlet out there when you're driving through Gotham City on the way home, you know? So who knows, right? But those, by just simplifying my life in that context, has led to where we're at right now.
I think that's amazing. And I can relate to that a lot because something that I went through when I was, when I lost my weight and went from 300 pounds to where I'm at now, I had my transformation was, I had to look at, because like you were there, right? You were 300. I can remember how much you were.
315.
315, right? Excuse me. It's like when you're trying to lose weight there or trying to get in shape, it's like you're looking at like a Mount Everest. It's like you have to believe in something that we talked about earlier. You have to believe in something that you can't necessarily see because you've never been in shape before. So you have to believe if I keep climbing, I'm going to make it to the top of this Mount Everest. And to kind of relate back to what you said about day 1 and now is it's once I started looking at it as though every day is a new day and I just kept showing up and just putting in the work that I'm supposed to do that day, I knew that I was moving that needle forward ever so slightly every day. Even though it might have just been 0.5%, 1%, it was going to add up and it was going to eventually accumulate and get me to where I want to be. And so I can relate to that a lot when you say that because it's like, once I got into that mindset, I realized that this is something that I can attain. The time is going to pass. It's going to go. I just got to show up and put in the work every day. That's it. And if I do that, I'll get there. And then, sure enough, I did eventually.
Well, and actually in the beginning is actually the best.
Yeah.
When you're the most out of shape and the most lethargic and that's actually the best time because you're going to see the most results.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, pick out the bodybuilder.
Mm-hmm.
Pick myself, 715 days in a row. I don't look that different from day 1 when I started this to now.
Mm-hmm.
There are changes, but it's not like, oh my gosh, this guy put on 75 pounds of straight muscle and he's now competing with the mutants, right? And even like, pick your best bodybuilder. We're sitting with a professional bodybuilder right now.
Yeah.
He's trained for years. He hasn't gained 100 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
Right? So like in the beginning, yeah, you can make some serious transformations.
Yeah.
So we all I kind of miss that part of it. We're like, yeah, I'm watching the scale go down and I'm getting the compliments and I'm buying different clothes and I'm throwing stuff away. And I'm like looking at like, I can't believe I look like, and then like, oh, you hit your waist size when you were in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I had to buy 2 different wedding rings. That's when you know you're losing weight, when you're losing weight in your fingers.
Just go through that.
Right?
Yeah.
But those days are over.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, like getting ready for a show, that's going to happen a lot for you now because he's, 10 weeks out?
Yeah, it's like 8.5, 8
So-
range. Yeah.
So save your old wedding ring, right? Or buy a new one because it's like the fitting on that ring is very loose at the end, right? And then it's going to get snug, when it's from where you're at now to the next level, which is really exciting that you're going to embark on that journey, which is like, coming from someone who's been very fit for a long time to taking it to a level you've never been to. And I'm excited to be a part of Old's journey as well is exciting as well, so.
Yeah, but good and bad. Like I said, I equate it to a woman's life. And they say this all the time. You want to marry like a 7 or an 8 if you're looking for somebody who's like mentally stable and probably going to be like one of those like very logical, even keel characters. Guys like me, I don't operate like that. I'm looking at 9s and 10s. That's how I like to operate. And my wife's in that category. And she'll admit to you, and she'll tell you, she's fucking crazy, right? A lot of it is because she has to compare herself to all the other 9s and 10s. And that's why for the most part, the 9s and 10s, like, yes, they're the ones that a lot of us like to look at, we want to be with, but they're crazy. Just across the board. I think even they would admit that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where like I look at myself now. Not that I'm calling myself a 9 or a 10, but I'm in a body that when I was 315 pounds, I was like, that's the 9 or a 10. And now that I'm here, I'm looking at the next level, like, oh no, that's the 9 or the 10.
Yeah.
And then, so like, I tell people, like, I'm fat now compared to where I need to be.
Well, and it's
Right.
standards. At the end of the day, it's all standards, right?
Yeah.
I think the evolution of life and your journey in fitness, our journey in fitness, is progression and growth. We talked a little bit about that last time. Ultimately, that's what drives happiness for every single person on this earth is progress, right? But raising your standards and finding new ways to elevate those standards each and every year is so critical, because if you're the same John or the same old you were last year at this time, to me, that's a disservice not only to yourself and your family, but also to your people, right? People you help, the people that follow you, the people that look to see what John's doing or Old's doing. Like, to me, that is a very, very powerful driving force for me, you know, for my kids, for my wife. Like, I don't want to be that same husband, coach, you know, father, you know, any of it, right? Each and every year. So for me, I raise them every year, and it's fucking gets harder and harder, right? On how to find ways to do it. And it's routines, it's rituals, it's looking for ways to really like make it better, right? And the farther you get down the road, it definitely becomes very difficult, you know, at times.
Well, and that's one of the skill sets that all these very successful people have.
Mm-hmm.
They all want to keep learning. There's not a single one of them that says, you've learned everything you need to learn, don't learn anymore.
Yeah, 100%.
At any level of any part of your career, no matter what you're doing, whether it's
Yeah.
fitness or parenting or business, or even if you're making coffees at Starbucks,
Yeah.
like learn something new, always challenge yourself. Because we're going to get to a point where we don't, I mean, I know this is not a robotics AI talk per se, but our life is changing. And whether it's 15 years down the road, I think we can all see the writing on the wall. Like, what is our purpose going to be here? Like, if you used to be, or if you are a lawyer or a doctor, you might not have that career anymore. If you're a fireman or a police officer, you might not have that career anymore. If you're in customer service, you're not going to have that career anymore. Manufacturing. At some point, it's going to be phased out. So you're forced to learn and pivot. And the high achievers are always going to be the high achievers. But we might be high achieving in some other area of life.
Yeah.
Well, have you heard the stories of people who go to lunch with Warren Buffett? Have you heard about
I
that?
have.
So when
That's why I come to you to teach me.
I've heard this from. I mean, I've seen quite a bit of interviews where people are talking about they either won a lunch with Warren Buffett or they got in with a certain circle, paid a certain amount of money, whatever. They got to sit down and have a lunch with Warren Buffett. And there was this one guy in particular who was really excited because he thought he was going to be able to show up and he was going to be able to pick Warren's brain. Well, when they showed up and they sat down and they actually had lunch and conversed, the whole entire time Warren Buffett was picking their brains. So one of the richest men ever of all time, he had people come to a lunch that were supposed to be learning from him, but rather than them learning from him the whole time, he was sitting there and asking them questions about their businesses and picking their brains and picking their minds. So to add even more, I don't know what, just to value to like what you were saying, that is very true. The most successful people are always learning. Look at Warren Buffett. He's got a guy that people are coming from all over the world to come meet this guy and to pick his brain. And he's like, nah, I'm going to pick your brain instead. And I'm going to learn from you. And I think that's freaking incredible.
I'm curious to see who's actually paying for that, right? Because, the personal development space, where I know from my perspective, we all get coaching and pay for the answers, right?
Yeah.
And any successful person in our space does that. And they know that that's the key to getting to the next level and the next level. But in that situation, I'm wondering, because people would probably pay a lot. I know we would to sit at that table. But if he's the one asking the questions, maybe that they're not paying for that lunch, who knows?
Well, I think it depends on the questions that he asks.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when somebody else asks you questions, that are pretty obvious.
Yeah.
It unlocks
Yep.
some kind of, whatever it is, blockage or distraction. And all of a sudden you become refocused
Mm-hmm.
just off of a question, because now you get to think about, wait a second.
How about
What?
you doing this?
Yeah, well,
How about
that's
you
actually,
yeah, there it is.
it's a very critical factor actually to going through consultations with a lot of others that are unhealthy out there. I study this tremendously. You can't tell them what they are, right? You need to ask them a question that leads them to come to terms with actually what's happening in their life. And this actually stems from people not wanting to be wrong, right? And so if I ask John a question about, well, how do you think it took you to get to like 715 days, right? Like, you're going to tell me the right answer because you've done it and it's you. But if I tell you, oh yeah, it was this, 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 and this, it's like, well, maybe not, right? So especially when you're doing consultations with people, like leading them to ask them a question that gets them to think differently is super critical for them to think about it differently. Because they're going to come to the conclusion like, oh shit, like, what's life going to be like in 5 years if you keep doing this, right? Well, you're going to be at like 3,000 days. But like, if it's someone who's eating French fries and pizza and drinking alcohol every night and not waking up in the morning and not doing the disciplines that lead you to the life we all want, well, that can be a pretty catastrophic, like very dark place to think about, right? And you got to use those things as like mechanisms to really drive different behavior. Man, I think that's a really good thing to
It's
think
probably
about.
a good time to bring, you had mentioned to me earlier you wanted to bring up the inversion.
Yeah.
And if we were talking about questions, that was the perfect time to
Absolutely.
your phone.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Kind
So
of brief what that
it's
is.
just it's actually, because you talk about Warren Buffett, one of his colleagues, Charlie Munger, was another one of the guys that he was a colleague, and they did a lot of business together. Well, they're both billionaires, right? Very successful people, but one of the things that he believes in was that inversion type of way of thinking, which is not like, how do I get happy, right? Which is like, oh, like you think like this, that, and the other. But the way our brains process things is actually inverting it, which is reversing that, which is like, what could I do to destroy my happiness, right? So for like, we'll use John for his example, or any one of us with our health and fitness journey, is like, what could I do to destroy the physique and the life that we've all created, right? Which is like, not fucking wake up in the morning, right? Start eating like shit again immediately. Not work out every day, right? Like not prepare my meals. When I go on a trip like today, like don't have any of my shit prepared, right? Like with the business, it would be like, don't call anyone back, right? Fucking don't respond to any of those DMs, right? When anyone reaches out for help, like, I'll just get back to them later. So our brains are very powerful when it comes to like the transverse, which is like, we tend to avoid things like that. So it's like, oh, like we act more in accordance with like avoiding those things, and that with that inverse type of thinking. And I plan on, that's one of the ways I'm going to raise my standards, is really focusing on those types of things in my life that are really detrimental, that will hold me back from like a plateau, right? A plateau in the business, maybe with my physique. And, whether you're doing a show or not, you really got to find those things to really raise your standards. So like, what would those things be? And having a high level of awareness, and also being very in tune with what those rituals and standards and habits are, to really say like, how can I really self-reflect to really change those things, right? And I think it's a very good topic, not only for our personal journeys, but this could help a lot of people out there as well. Just ask yourself, like, what am I doing each and every day that is crushing my overall like goals and dreams, right? Could be with our wives, right? With our personal relationships, like habits, like, saying you're sorry when you really fucked up and dropped the ball, right? Like maybe you overreacted, right? Maybe you're a little impatient. Like, so what are some things that could destroy that relationship with your wife or yourself, right? Which we talked a little bit about that earlier, which is, we were listing off all those things, right? It would be like going back to just drinking the alcohol and eating the pizza and the beer and not showing up, right? Missing workouts, just really those habits and things that really get shifted. So I think understanding how powerful that can be on all of our journeys of the inverse way of thinking is really cool, to think about, how it could be.
Because our brains are naturally negative. I mean, it's very easy for us to come up with the negatives of something. If I start a business, I might fail. I might lose my house. I might this. I might that. So that method is so fantastic because you can reverse engineer and you say, okay, what would it take for me to completely ruin my business, right? Like you said, not respond to leads, not call anybody back, not provide a good service. And then, okay, if I do these things, then I'm going to have a successful business. You reverse engineer the whole thing. I think that's fantastic because I've heard Hormozy talk about that, but that was a Charlie Munger thing. And I think he got it from Einstein, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, but I absolutely love that. So I thought that was a good time to bring it in because I mentioned Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it's perfect timing.
They could even just be like, just how you show up every day, right? Like, what could I do to show up just as a piece of shit every day? Like, like for my kids, for my wife, for myself, right? Because yourself.
Out with the dishes and
all of it. Yeah.
Be, neglect my kids, be on my phone all day, not work out. Oh, so if I do these things, then I'm going to be providing a lot of value to my family.
One of the things that's really helped me is really just time management, right? Like I use Google Calendar for a lot of stuff. I slip on it sometimes, but I had a coach that basically said that when there's blank spots in your calendar, it's like cancer to your goals and your dreams and everything you want to achieve. And it's tough, but it's also almost tougher, like not doing it and sticking to that, right? Yeah. Some of the days I know that we have are literally jam-packed from before the sun comes up till way after the sun goes down. So, and that's the life, you guys think that when you get to a certain point, even where we've been able to achieve, it's just like we're chilling all day long because we're self-employed, but it is so far from that, I'll tell you.
Well, I mean, the most valuable thing that we can't replace is time. So that's every rich person, that's what they want to use their money for.
Yeah.
Time. Yeah. That's why they hire employees. That's why they hire and have systems in place. That's why they use technology, because it gives them time back. And it's the one thing that's the level playing field. Doesn't matter who you are. We all have the same amount.
Yeah.
We all got 24 hours. But we don't all use it the same way. Fortunately for me, I have a frame of reference of what being a terrible person was like.
Yeah.
So it helps me to show up every day like this because I just ask myself, hey, don't you remember what it was like when you were 300 and something pounds, you're eating ice cream every night, you fucking felt terrible when you looked in the mirror, your feet fucking killed you because I had plantar fasciitis for like 18 months straight. Yeah. Like brutal, and you're sweating like a fucking pig everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Like I'm crushing my wife in bed, like I'm getting married, making a joke that she's a chubby chaser, which is funny. Yeah. Ha, ha, ha. But now I look at pictures of myself and I'm like, what the heck? Right. Like, but I didn't have the frame of reference because I never looked like this.
Yeah.
So I think for like a lot of like big guys, because that's what I deal with, they know what they need to do. They know they're not happy because everybody knows when you fuck up. Like that's the thing. It's like your conscience is going to control all of it. Like when you miss that calendar,
Yeah. It's convicting. As Christians, that's what we call it.
Right. So it's always with you. It's the one person you can't fool. It's the one person that knows all. So if you can develop a program where you show up and you have habits and keep that calendar filled all day long, you don't allow yourself to engage in that negative behavior that drives that fucking conscience crazy.
I have a hard time like over packing my calendar and like I want to do more. So I think for me, like definitely something that really kind of gives me anxiety is being able to like not do more, right? That's leadership, that's scaling, that's, getting people to do some lower level tasks beneath you. I think for me, because I've done a lot of this shit on my own and even like, dude, moving, it's like, I know I probably shouldn't be doing that shit and I should be doing but it's so difficult to let go on certain things like that because you want to have some sort of illusion of control when it's like you got to relinquish that, right? To give up. Because like I want to be able to even give that experience to someone that I'm helping, right? Like what kind of experience can I give them, right? I think Michael Jordan actually said it best when he was describing like his games. And people may think this is crazy, but like when we get on a call with someone, we're talking to them, like I think of like, there's that one kid in the stands who could afford one ticket one time in his lifetime. And like, this is the only time he's ever going to be able to watch me. Well, these people that are overweight, they may never not get on another call ever. And let's say they decide not to do it. Like I try to walk into it thinking like, if I can get this person to think differently and they don't do this, even so, like I got them to change the way they think about it, right? And Hermosi actually talks about this. I think this is a very powerful thing. He's an extremely intelligent guy. He's like off the Richter scale, but he says, if I can get someone to change the way they think about something, and change their limiting beliefs, and whether they move forward or not, but they think about their health differently or their fitness journey, like I've done my job, right? And if you can think about just that on, the process of helping someone go through they may come back 6 months, a year later and be like, you know what? And I've had this happen. You know what? I remember that thing you told me and I'm ready to go now. And maybe they just weren't ready, to really do the work, right? Or show up. That's one of the things I know we believe in is like, dude, if you're not willing to do the work, you don't fucking deserve this shit, at all. And we talked about that when we were workout earlier, which I have so much respect for someone like you, John, and even you all that's really fought through and pushed back the little bitch, or the angel and the devil, as I like to call it, right? Like, because, dude, that's a tough journey to be on, right? Because we're fighting that every single day, even at the level where we've been able to achieve with our journeys, is that it's going to be there and it's going to be there for a long time. You're going to constantly have to smother that devil or that little bitch, down to really take control, because it's not something you can get to and like hit the top of the mountain and be like, all right, I did it. You got to maintain the shit, which we've helped a lot of people, which fall back into the same old habits. I've helped them numerous times where they're just like, oh man, something clicked and I got a flat tire, or grandma got sick and, it was my kid's birthday and like they fell off, right? Because they didn't change like the way that they do everything in life, and it didn't click to where it's like, it's non-negotiable. Like I don't give a fuck if the world's on fire. Like I'm going to the gym and I'm going to do that workout at 7:16 and 7:17 and 7:18. Like, dude, I remember when the Thomas fire was here and we had smoke, I was deadlifting and my eyes were all red and the shit was all fucked up, but I was deadlifting and shit, maybe it was probably not the best time to be breathing in that air, but I just know it was a standard, right, that I had to keep, and a promise that I had to keep to myself. And I think that if more people looked at it that way, we'd have a different, level of progression all across the board,
Yeah, well, it's tough when you're trying to sell someone on an idea of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way that you operate, I would argue, keep operating like that. Like that's being true to you.
Yeah.
Because the way that you operate and everything that you do has led to where you are right now, which I would argue is pretty successful.
Thank you, man.
Right? Pro bodybuilder, owns his own gym, happy wife, happy kids, a new baby.
Well, and just so you guys know, like the minute you decide to say you're successful, you're actually successful. And that's something I struggle with a lot, because I see where we have a lot of progress and where we want to go. But thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, yeah, because you came from a dark place too.
Yeah.
And so guys like us have to exist. And we talked about it before, because, somebody has to make the impact. And there's always going to be winners and losers. It's the yin and yang of life. So for every guy that's like this are the guys out there that don't make the change. It's going to happen. But if we can plant the seed, like I made a video, I'm like, I'm the gardener because I'm going to plant a seed today. And that's getting them to think differently. Or like I'll make videos and tell people like, you deserve to be you deserve to be your best version of yourself today. But do you believe that you deserve to be the best version? Because if you don't, it ain't never going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. And it takes a while, but like I mentioned earlier, like this is a God-given skill. And I'm just being true to myself.
Yeah.
And now I'm proving it to everybody. Because at 715 days, like, I told you so.
Well, I think a lot of it too is you got to prove it to yourself, right? And, despite even the level we've been able to get to, it's, you got to look at those stack of wins, right? Which that's one of his big things is stack wins, which I love that is.
I stole that, by the way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Pedro's Coolion is who I got it from. Okay. I don't know who he got it from.
Yeah. So I'm sure he got it from someone else too, right? We're modeling off people that have gone before us. But, when you ever have that like distortion of reality of what you actually think you achieve, because you can look at yourself right now and you can be like, dude, I'm fucking out of shape, like piece of shit, right? Which sometimes I've actually used that to really drive more behavior, but you got to be careful with it, because it can become very negative, right? I've been in that dark place, even despite getting fairly fit, of thinking that you're a fraud, right? Like even getting in the fitness space the last couple of years, even sometimes for me, I'm like, fuck, like maybe the program's not as good as I think it is, right? And I think a really empowering thing for a lot of people out there, including myself, is I just fucking look at the overwhelming stack of wins that I've been able to accomplish, and not in a way of like it's arrogance or overly confident, but just to be like, I'm not a fraud. And that just because someone didn't get it, or they fell off, or they didn't stick to the program, or the accountability wasn't like holding them accountable, doesn't mean our program doesn't work. It just means that they're human, and people like to fall back in the old bad habits, even though they're very destructive and they're very, destroying of self-confidence and esteem. It's just a part of the game, right? But I think the more wins that you're able to stack, it becomes like obvious that, you're pretty damn good at what you do. And the more that you're able to look at that stack and reference it, like it becomes very, it would be unreasonable for you not to be very good at what you do. And
Yeah. I mean, so for me, what that triggered most of it was on like day 484, 47, I talk about it, 480 something, not even important anymore. But that's when I figured out like how many days it was. And then 500 was on the horizon. So I was like looking at the days, because in Google search, how many days, right? And that's when I was like, wow, 480 some odd days in a row you've worked out. And I tell people the most important person that had to see that number was me. Yeah. Like I had to see that number, that validated it for me. But over the next 300 days, or whatever, 250 days, like my thoughts have changed, and it changes weekly as to like what I'm doing, why am I doing it, how am I still doing it? And I just go back to, this is who I really am. This is what I love doing. I've been working out since I was 13 years old. All the guys I went to high school with me at TO, they saw me benching 300 pounds as a freshman. I've hit some, I've always enjoyed this environment. One of my first jobs working at the Spectrum Club, right there off the 101. I worked at GNC right by the DMV over there in Thousand Oaks, right? Those were my first two jobs. And I just loved this space. Had all the Flex magazines on the wall and read the Muscle mags, and back when their magazines were still a thing. Yeah. And you had to learn your bodybuilding from flipping through pages. Yeah. We're not watching routines on Instagram, and so like, this is who I am. This is but I got away from it, right? And I fell off, and I've worked with coaches, and it wasn't until I just got tired of looking this way, but then being influenced by the right guys on that magic box. I had no problem telling everybody, Wes Watson fucking changed the way I thought about things, because he was that vehicle for me. No, I don't watch his content now, right? I'm not an avid fan of his now, but that was the guy I had to listen to. And then right below that was my coach, which is Guerrero. The two of those guys together at that point in my life were critical. Without them, this never would have happened. And Guerrero, a lot more so, because he had to deal with me directly and all the character defects. I opened up social media, shut it down. I'm having arguments with my wife about something, or I'm job transition, what do I do? And it was never about the workouts and I was locked in there. But every other aspect of my life was starting to be chaotic. And probably because I always knew this is what I wanted to do. And I think that's why I gravitated towards what they were doing so much, because I saw guys that were living a life that I wish I had, doing the things that I love to do, looking the way that I wanted to look, and then making the kind of money that I wanted to make. It became really attractive. And they were hitting on all cylinders.
Yeah.
There was no hole in the game at that time, right? But that's the way social media was created. That vehicle of social media, my perception of it at that time changed my life. And that was so powerful, So if I can be that vehicle, which I am, and all of us are, for different people, well, that's the gift that we're giving back for the gift that was given to us. Because all of us, at some point, saw somebody, and I was like, I want to be like that guy.
All right, we're back. Josh had to dip out. He's got his baby due coming up in about 2-3 months, so he's got to go to an appointment real quick. So Big John and I will finish up. So when you, John, were your kids born yet? When you were 300 pounds, like when you were heavy, were they around?
So my oldest is 12.
Okay.
So he saw a progression of weight gain.
Yeah.
When he came into my life, I was 370 pounds ish.
Yeah.
And so actually, when I was at my heaviest, we went to Puerto Penasco in Mexico for a weekend, like a family trip. And he was just a little guy, you know, and we're on the beach, and I was wearing a tank top, and I was enormous.
Yeah.
Back when, I don't even know if, I mean, we had cell phone pictures, but I don't remember what model phone that was.
Yeah.
So the quality was terrible. He was probably 4 years old, roughly 5 years old. So that would have been 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And then when I got married, my second son was about 1. I'm carrying him in a lot of pictures.
Yeah.
So, and when I got married, I was about 300. And my daughter is 5. So she was even in like, so when like some of the pictures were, you know, like skin to skin, you know, I got a huge gut, you know, and they all witnessed, because when COVID started is when I went down the vegan journey. So I don't know if we talked about that.
No.
Yeah.
I did not know you were vegan.
Yeah. So this is an interesting one, right? It's got a whole backstory.
I never pictured this.
Yeah. So it's got a whole backstory. So it's 2020, right? I want to say January or February, because I think it was a month before lockdown.
Yeah.
I have a cousin whose husband is an officer in the Navy.
Yeah.
And he's been for a long time, and he's an air traffic controller. And so his boat, he was on an aircraft carrier down in San Diego.
Yeah.
So he's down there. He's, hey, we're doing maintenance. Why don't you guys drive down? Let's hang out. We can golf on the golf course. You know, it's a private golf course down there for all the servicemen. So my dad and I, we go down there, and we're having lunch. His name's Dennis. I go, hey, Dennis, what are you going to have? He's like, I'm just going to have like a salad, you know? I'm like, come on, bro. Like, I'm like talking shit to him.
Yeah.
Give me a salad. I'm like, no, come on, get a sandwich. Like, throw some protein on there. Like, what are we doing? He's like, no. He's like, I stopped eating meat.
Yeah.
I go, get the fuck out of here, you know? Talking shit to him. He goes, no, me and all the guys in my little like squadron or whatever they call them. He's like, yeah, we all stopped eating meat. We're all on a plant-based diet. I'm like, what the fuck? We go like, well, tell me, like, how are your energy levels? What's going on? He's like, I lost weight. I feel good. Everybody, we're all like feeling great. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, what was that? Like, how'd this start? He's like, oh, we all saw a documentary called Game Changers. Yeah. On Netflix. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, we golf, whatever. I'm like, this guy's a fucking clown. Anyway, moving on, right? I love Dennis Thingman, by the way, but I was just like, what the fuck? And so, sure enough, it's the day of, like 2 days into lockdown. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm watching TV. The world's going crazy. And I hear scratching like up in my ceiling. I'm like, fuck. I already knew there was a rat or some kind of vermin, whatever is up there. So, fuck. So the next day, call up local exterminator. He's like a 60-year-old Mexican dude, been in business for like 30 years. Yeah. Like old school, right? Comes over to the house. Like, hey, man, can I get you something to eat, drink? He's like, no, I just had a bean burrito. I go, okay. He's like, yeah, I'm on a plant-based diet. I go, what? Yeah. I'm like, huh? He's like, yeah, I saw this documentary called Game Changers. I go, get the fuck out of here. You know, I'm like thinking, I'm like, this is a fucking sign. Yeah. So there's no job. There's nothing to do. I'm stuck watching TV all day long. Fuck it. I guess I'm going to watch Game Changers. Yeah. And those fucking propagandists over there at Netflix got me hooked. Yeah. I watched that show, and like literally within like 6 hours, I was a vegan. Yeah. I was on a plant-based diet, and I went all in. Yeah. You know, Schwarzenegger's on that show. There's NFL players. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I went all in. I went from, at that time, I was about 285, not really working out. Yeah. Like if I was lucky, I was lifting weights like maybe 2-3 days a week. Yeah. So 285, straight dad bod. I got plenty of pictures on my page back then, and went plant-based. So it helped because I developed some dietary discipline. Because when you eliminate all meat products, well, the pizza's out the window, the burgers are out the window. You're not going to fast food restaurants. Yeah. So that was a good transition. And I went down to about 250 pounds.
So 30, 35 pounds?
Yeah, so I lost weight. Yeah. But I wasn't muscular. Yeah. Right? But I lost weight. I became a smaller human being. And then lo and behold, all those same behaviors started creeping back in. And then I started to gain. Yeah. And I went back up to 285 on a plant-based diet. Yeah. And I was eating whole pizzas, that were just vegan.
Yeah.
Right. I was eating bowls of food. Like I was taking tofu and probably eating like 150 grams of protein of tofu, right? With rice and broccoli.
Yep.
And then to top it off, I was using Sweet Baby Ray's honey mustard sauce.
Yeah.
Because it's still plant-based.
Yeah.
And that's got a bunch of sugar. So when I got blood tested, my triglycerides were through the roof.
Yeah. Yeah.
The doctor was looking at me like, what's going on here? And actually, when I had reached out to Guerrero for the first time to ask him, because that's the thing about Guerrero, he provided me some mentorship for free.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was able to reach out to him and kind of get an idea of what to do, and he provided that to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tried to run those numbers that he gave me as a vegan. It was too hard to do.
Yeah.
You have to do a lot of like supplementation. There's way too many carbs. You're not really getting a complete protein on that diet.
Yeah.
And I was a Joe Rogan fan, right? So he's constantly telling you to eat carnivore and bring it all. Like he's trying to refute that documentary.
Yeah.
So I was on that plant-based diet for about 2 years, maybe 2.5. And I was watching Rogan, and he had some doctor on there, and she was talking about the benefits. And I was like, you know what? Let me reintroduce like at least turkey back into the diet.
Yeah.
Right. And I did. And it felt like a shot of adrenaline. I was like, I'm back, you know, like it was crazy.
Yeah.
And at that point, I started going back into the gym on my own. Mm-hmm. I was an associate of Guerrero's, but I wasn't on his program.
Yeah.
And so it got to the point where I just couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
I was eating meat again. I was lifting weight consistently, maybe 4 days a week, 5 days a week. Felt better.
Yeah.
But I was at 285 pounds, couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
And I got on the phone with him. First time I ever like talked to him. And he goes, well, fuck, bro, I gave you the fucking numbers, so what the fuck's your problem?
Yeah.
And I was like, what? I was like, this is the guy I need to hire. I was like, that tone of voice, like the way I feel about myself right now, listening to this guy talk to me like that, like, you got me.
Yeah.
And so I went all in, made a 3-month commitment. And then before I hit the 3-month mark, made another 3-month commitment.
Yeah.
And I went to every single Zoom call, never missed my diet, locked in, and got to a point where I did some of the workouts in the beginning, but ultimately I just started doing my own workouts.
Yeah.
And then on August 22nd of 2022, now I told you before, I used that date loosely.
Yeah.
Only because I couldn't figure out exactly when I started.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that date I could cement, I could hammer it in. I know for a fact that I have not missed a day since that day.
Yeah.
So, but I started on March 25th of 2022.
With Guerrero.
With Guerrero.
Okay.
So it was a progression up until that point. But on August 22nd is when it happened, when it started.
Yeah.
And it's been that way ever since, you know?
Yeah. I cannot, that was a little bit of a twist there, brother. I was not expecting you to say that you were once a vegan.
Yeah.
Because you just don't look like a vegan at all. Or like you would try that whatsoever.
And there's a lot of health problems associated with that.
Oh, there's a ton.
You know?
Well, because my thing that I always talk to my clients about is the greatest diet in the world is the one that you stick to, right? Sustainability is everything. And but if you, even when you look at scientifically, you start looking at, just look at our teeth. How do we know what dinosaurs ate? By their teeth. So when you look at a human being's teeth, we are omnivores. We're supposed to have both. So I'm not even a fan of, I think carnivore is, I think the two extremes, I think the truth always lies somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Right. And that's, my diet is very based off of that. It's very in the middle. I have lots of, I'm not a big veggies guy, but I have a lot of fruits. I do have vegetables, but then I also have good whole quality red meat. I do turkey. I don't really do as much chicken, but whole eggs, right? Greek yogurt. I try to get a whole variety of nice sources of whole foods. And I think a lot of times people feel really good when they go vegan because they're eliminating a lot of the shit that they ate, right? Like they're just eliminating all of the junk and the shit. And so they feel great because they're eliminating the junk and the shit, not because they're going plant-based. And then they confuse that with, oh, I'm plant-based, that's why I feel so good. Well, have you ever seen what those people feel like 2 years in, 3 years in? They start to look frail. And there's a lot of studies, I don't know if you've seen them, there's studies that show
when you are plant-based for a long period of time, your brain actually starts to shrink. Because you know the theory of evolution for monkeys, how we evolved from monkeys. You know what it is? Joe Rogan's talked about it. Like we started off, we were all monkeys, right? But the reason why we became humans is because monkeys have to eat all day long. If you ever watch a gorilla, what's he doing? What are all vegetarian or herbivores doing in the wild? Eating. Look at cows, eating pandas, eating. They eat all day long. Well, the theory of how we became human beings is one day a monkey decided, I'm going to eat meat. And the bioavailability and the amount of calories and nutrition that you could get from eating meat, rather than us having to spend 18 hours of our waking days eating, we can now eat and then I don't have to eat again for another day. So then they started to have time. Going back to entrepreneurship and buying your time back, this goes back fucking millions and millions of years. They started buying their time back by eating meat. And this civilization of monkeys that started eating meat and now didn't have to eat all day long started having time. And over millions and millions of years, they developed civilizations. Our faces started changing. Everything started changing. So now we're at a point where we look the way that we look. We have the civilizations and the world that we've built simply because the theory goes, when we fell out of the tree, a monkey one day decided, I'm going to eat meat. And that changed the game millions of years ago. And it's crazy to think now. People are like, oh no, let's go backwards. Let's just not eat any meat at all. And they say that, again, there's this is one study that I saw in particular, that the average brain percentage that somebody's brain would shrink after being, I think it was on a vegan diet for more than 10 years or something, was their brain shrunk 12% more than somebody who ate like an omnivorous diet. And it's because you're literally reverting back to millions and millions and millions of years ago when we didn't freaking eat meat, and you're gonna go turn into a fucking monkey again theoretically if you go in that route.
I mean, obviously, when you talk about diets, what I didn't realize until social media is like how tribal these diet people can get.
Yeah.
Right?
Not showering.
Just like
all the crazy shit.
They're gonna gang up on you and they're gonna defend their argument.
Oh,
like they're their own little clique, you know. What I would say for me was I started like the depression was definitely there. The weight gain was definitely there. You know, I didn't feel as muscular. I didn't feel as strong. I just didn't feel like I did when I was eating meat.
Yeah.
What's interesting is all of these diets are designed around lack of discipline in a sense.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it does provide some discipline, but it allows you a lot of freedom.
Yeah.
And that's why people like to go to them, carnivore, vegan. I can eat as much as I want as long as I don't do this.
Yeah.
And so you're still on that gluttony, like ideology.
Yeah.
Now with the vegan world, what's interesting is that they've done a great job of recreating all the terrible things that animal products, like the burgers, the fries, the pizzas. They just made it all plant-based.
It's bioengineer it now.
It's great,
out
right?
of a lab.
And that's a whole separate conversation if you want to go down that rabbit hole of like why they're trying to get us away from stuff. But it could very well be that they're trying to shrink our brains.
Yeah.
They want to expose you to more pesticides, more chemicals, more this, you know. I mean, even the theory of evolution, I'm a weirdo, right? As I get older, anything that I can't prove myself and I have to take somebody else's word for, I tend not to believe.
Yeah.
No matter what it is. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's good or bad.
Yeah.
Right? But I don't think, personally, that we're descendants of monkeys. I just don't. Mm-hmm. That's just my personal opinion, right? Like, if I was going to lean towards anything, Adam and Eve makes a lot more sense to me than the theory of evolution.
Well, does it sound logical what I said?
No, it does.
Right?
Yeah. But so like what I would say, the reason why I feel that way is if you look at an ape, that motherfucker is a fucking machine.
They are.
He can rip through any fucking man-made car you've ever seen. He could flip it over.
He could take us
but doesn't eat any meat.
Yeah.
So like, I don't think we're on the same, like, we're not coming from the same chronological.
Oh, I don't think it was probably like a chimpanzee or like some form.
But even then,
because the gorilla, but a gorilla's are beasts. But at the end of the day, a gorilla has to sit and eat 18 hours a day. They have no time on their hands.
And
all
then
they do is eat.
What I would argue too is if one animal saw such a strategic benefit, why wouldn't all of them do it?
Well, I think it's because it took so many millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of years. I don't think that this just happened in 100 years. And
No, well, you know what I'm saying? Like, but then there wouldn't be any chimpanzees anymore.
Yeah.
The chimpanzee would never exist because you would essentially change the entire genealogical animal.
Well,
right?
Well, I mean, look at human being. Why are some human beings in a third world country? Right? Like, why are some stuck in a third world country? Yet they've seen, oh, if I travel west, hundreds of years ago, if I travel west, they're going to build and be successful. But I think some just stay behind.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would probably equate that to like a sociological expectation of your life.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, as a species,
yeah.
If it was uncovered that if you ate corn, you grew 3 inches taller, or you ran 3 miles faster,
yeah,
every single one of us would eat corn, and nobody would be 3 miles slower anymore.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, if one chimpanzee cracked the code, then there would never be a chimpanzee ever again. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a weird. All these things in life, we have to take someone else's word for it.
Yeah.
Like, you and I weren't born back then. We have no fucking idea.
Yeah.
We don't even know how the pyramids got built.
This is true.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, so how am I going to believe anything at this point? Like, I've never been to Mars.
Yep.
I don't know if it's real.
Yep.
Is Earth round or flat? I don't fucking know. I've never made the trip.
Yep.
You know? Like, I have to take your word for it.
Yep.
Like, that's like anything in life.
Yeah.
You know? And that's why people get stuck in these fitness ruts and these ways of living, and it's their perspective. I was watching a video, it was very interesting. It was people, and they'll show you on the video, they're singing a song.
Yeah.
And then they're having you read the captions as they're singing the song.
Mm-hmm.
The same song plays, they change the captions. And your mind hears the new caption, hears the variation of that song. And they did it 4 times. And every time that they changed the captions, but didn't change the audio, your mind picks up the new audio through the caption.
So you're hearing what you're reading.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So you can perceive a lot of different things as a human being. And obviously that gets into like frequencies and all these other things. Like, how come a dog can hear things that we can't hear? Like, there's things outside of our understanding, which with all of these things, you know, I get down to these like psychological weird fucking tangents, you know, but
no, I'm game for them.
Yeah. I go back to, like, if evolution's true, okay. So then if evolution's true, that means Christianity or Adam and Eve not true. Or like, where's the divide? Where's the there's got to be some
I think
symbiosis.
Lies somewhere in the middle,
right. There's some symbiosis with it. So it's I don't know. Like I said, I mean, go down to the deepest parts of the fucking ocean, and there's animals we've never seen before. Yeah. So who knows what was going on? We don't even know if dinosaurs are real, to be honest with you. Like, they could have faked that whole thing. I don't know.
Well, have you ever seen an ostrich? You ever go to like Solvang or Buellton?
Yeah.
Have you fed them?
No, I never did.
So there's in Solvang, which if you guys don't know, Solvang's a little Danish town about an hour from where we live. There's a place where you can feed ostriches.
Yeah. And
so the theory is that velociraptors evolved into these things. I was like, right? I didn't believe, like, bullshit. Dude, so about a month ago, I took my kids and my wife, we were out in that area and we took them to feed these ostriches. And if you look at their feet, they look like fucking dinosaur feet. And if you look at their skin, it looks like reptile skin. Yeah. Like, it literally go from the legs up, okay, it's a bird. Legs down, it's a fucking dinosaur. And it looks, it's crazy. So I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle of it all. I think evolution is there, but I think creation somehow just magically, it happened. We don't know how to explain a lot of these things. Yeah. But I tell you what, Go look at an ostrich and you'll be like, all right, that's a fucking dinosaur.
I got a new homework assignment. You know?
But anyways, we're a little bit off track of that. But going back to, I mentioned earlier your children, right? What have you been able to see the impact that you have had in your transformation on their lives? Like, have you been able to see little habits they pick up on? Have you been able to see little things that they do, things they say to you, or either things they say or things that they do? Have you been able to see or notice any changes in them from you going through your transformation?
Yeah. So, I mean, losing the weight's one thing.
Yeah.
And then becoming a full-time coach, running an online business.
Yeah.
And then the entrepreneurship involved with the beef jerky and all the things.
Yep.
And then working from home is a whole nother animal.
100%.
Right. And, obviously they're home for summer break.
Yeah.
But I'm working. So it's a very interesting paradigm in the house.
Yeah.
I eat a certain way. I carry myself a certain way. I obviously live a very disciplined lifestyle.
Yeah.
That it rubs off on everybody. They're very aware.
Yeah.
They understand that dad's looks like an action figure or whatever. He's he's stronger than most of the dads. None of the dads look like me.
Yeah.
They understand that part. They understand how I eat. They understand I bring my food to a restaurant.
Yeah.
I'm trying to lead by example.
Yeah.
And in my own mind, this is how I kind of justify my living versus other dads.
Yeah.
Because I think in some ways you're always going to compare yourself to what's everybody else doing.
Yeah.
Right? My upbringing was totally different. But I'm not out at bars. I come home every night. I don't have like this crazy social circle where I'm gone all the time. I don't leave every day to go to work.
Yeah.
I don't come home and sit down and drink a beer. I don't have them bring me stuff from the fridge. But I'm up at 3 a.m. doing burpees. I'm working, I'm grinding, I'm building my business.
Yeah.
I live, obviously look a certain way. I treat them a certain way. I don't have the same like outbursts that I used to have. I'm not as miserable in life as I used to. But I'm not where I was financially when I started this.
Yeah.
But I'm also totally aware that if success happened overnight, there would be no such thing as success.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to show them all of it.
Yeah.
And any entrepreneur that you're speaking to, the most successful ones, they're never the best at everything.
Never.
Right? Even my dad's an entrepreneur. He still works like 6-7 days a week. My parents divorced when I was young, so I only saw him on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like I was playing catch with him every day.
No.
So I personally grew up on my own in a sense and had to teach myself a lot of things. I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
My wife, she lived in a completely different household.
Mm-hmm.
So her expectations of how kids should be raised is different. But at the same time, whatever example you can be for them, that's how I live my life. Okay, how can I be an example for them?
Yeah.
Whether it's eating, how I relate to other people, how hard I work, how I treat them, and then what do I get done? Mm-hmm. They get to go on. They're at the river right now. I'm here working. I'm working.
Yeah. Yeah.
We try to take them on vacations. Like my wife and I are different. We're not the Boy Scout leaders. I posted a video. My son is 7 years old. He's flipping off the camera. He thinks it's funny. Like we're all tatted.
Sounds like my son, man.
Yeah, like we're all tatted. There may be vulgarities spoken in our house every single day.
Yeah.
On the dot, like all day. Not by me necessarily, but by somebody.
Yeah.
The kids mostly, the TV show, whatever.
Yeah.
Everybody lives their life a different way,
Mm-hmm.
But personally, I'm just happy that I'm not that guy out drinking.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy that's not proud of how, like I could take my shirt off in front of my kids.
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't want to take my shirt off in front of anybody.
Yeah.
So to show my boys that, and I think in a lot of ways as a dad, I'm trying to show my kids, either the boys, what a man is, how he carries himself, and then show my daughter what kind of man you want to look for.
Absolutely.
right? And
Absolutely.
so if I was going to build the perfect companion for my daughter as she gets older, I think someone that lives like me wouldn't be the worst thing.
Yeah.
Because I hear about all these other stories about fucking dudes lumping up their ladies.
Yeah.
These guys are cheating on them.
Yeah.
These guys are out doing this or that. They're broke as fuck. They have no job.
Yeah.
So is it the perfect scenario for everybody involved? And I spend 9 hours a day with my kids playing catch and bonding and we're fishing and no.
Yeah.
But I'm an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
And I never met an entrepreneur that did that.
Mhm.
Not in the beginning,
Yep.
you know, but technology, the way the world's working, trying to buy back our time,
Yep.
it opens up the possibilities to do that. So in my mind right now, I'm making a sacrifice.
Yeah.
Just like we have to sacrifice our diet and our time to look a certain way, to get our body a certain way, I'm sacrificing my time and a lot of like my mental power
Yeah.
because I'm donating it to trying to build these businesses.
Yeah.
So I'll have more time on the backside in a short amount of time. I'm trying to expedite it,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
And that's why I hire coaches. That's, you know, we talked about it before, but I heard a quote that it usually takes people to get to about 7 mentors before they become a millionaire,
Yeah.
right?
Mentors are everything.
Yeah, because you're going to surround yourself with somebody.
Mhm.
It doesn't necessarily mean you have to spend physical time with them every single day,
Yeah.
but you need to pick their brain. You need to have conversations with them. You need to have a valuable interaction or relationship with them. And that could be all it takes for you to change.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the fastest way to get to where you want to go is going from A to Z. It's not going from A to D to X to, it's not
Right.
bouncing around. So if you find somebody who's at Z, they can show you the path. They'll be able to show you and say, hey, this is how you skip all the bullshit, right? It's the great thing about mentorship and coaching is it's shortening the time horizon. You're buying your time. What's your time worth? Do you want to spend 5 years figuring this out? Or do you want to hire somebody and maybe within 2 to 5 months figure something out? Because I promise you, by the time you get to the end of those 5 years, you're going to hit another problem.
Yeah.
And then you're going to spend another 5 years on that problem. Then you're going to spend another 5 years on that problem. Next thing you know, the guy who hired mentors, it took him 2 years to get through all those problems and situations. And he's built himself up to here. And you've tried to figure it out on your own. And it's taken you 20 years and you're barely here. And it's interesting because I feel like I don't want to say the school system now kind of doesn't teach that, but they don't teach you. They say, go to school and that's going to teach you everything you need to know. And so I feel like when us as coaches, people have a hard time seeing, I've talked to a lot of my guys, they are, very successful either in business or they're successful in their careers. They went to school and they spent $100,000 on their fucking degree that they hardly even use, but I want to spend a couple $1,000s to help me get in shape and be healthy and actually buy back more time because on the path that I'm on now, I might have a heart attack by 40. That just doesn't make sense. It's kind of like there's something missing from our system, and I hate to blame it on that, but there's something missing from there to really bury into people's heads like, hey, you're worth investing in yourself, especially when it comes to your health.
Well, I think it's hard for people to feel their self-worth after they've let themselves down over and over again, right?
Yeah.
And that's the hardest negotiation. That's the hardest sell.
Yeah.
You take somebody that's broken by their own doing and then get them to realize that doesn't have to be your future or your current.
Yeah.
I heard a very brilliant statement. It was by, I think he's a philosopher. I get into quantum observation.
Yeah. So like quantum physics and stuff like
well,
that?
it's manifesting and it's like really using the subconscious. But the statement was made that you're the writer and the director and the actor of your own movie.
Yeah.
And if you don't like the script, then change it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you beat yourself to death and you did a bunch of shit that you're not proud of, and you engage in nefarious activity, no matter what the hell it is, and only you know what that is,
Mm-hmm.
but it's causing you, consciously or subconsciously, to feel like shit about yourself, then change the fucking script
Yeah.
to the guy that doesn't feed into that shit.
Yeah.
And it's easy to say that, but the best way to do it is with action.
Yeah.
That's why the workouts are so important.
Mm-hmm.
Because every time you work out, it's an act of self-love. You're boosting the happy chemicals in your brain.
Mhm.
You're establishing a positive behavior. And the vibration, the feeling that you get will stay with you for a few hours afterwards.
Mhm.
And the best thing about having coaches and all these, well, now you can become more valuable to people.
Yeah.
So that's what these people are like, I don't want to spend $2. They don't realize how selfish that is.
Yeah.
Because you're making an investment in yourself to learn a skill set that will benefit you and everybody else in your life.
Yeah.
If I had no idea that when I went down this road, that the majority of conversations I would have with people would be about a problem that I fix for myself
Yeah.
on the daily.
Yeah.
And it was because I spent money on coaches to invest in myself, to change who I am. I am now valuable to every single person that I have an interaction with.
Yeah.
I'm planting those fucking seeds everywhere.
Yep.
Even just by looking at me or talking to me or hearing my story.
Yeah.
And most of the stuff I don't even talk about regularly, you know? But people see, like, you can see somebody that just carries himself different.
Yeah.
The energy comes off differently. People can feel that.
Yeah.
And they're naturally gravitate towards it. And so then what's going to happen? They're going to be gravitated towards somebody that brings them no value. It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
Like, have a skill set. Have something like, if you want to go down the school, I've been talking about school lately. I think traditional school or school in general is 100% obsolete.
Yeah.
High school, grade school, kindergarten, totally obsolete.
Yeah.
In my opinion, is babysitting.
Yeah.
Because the world that we're in right now, you can find any answer you want if you know how to look for it.
Yeah.
I don't need an education.
Yeah.
I have an education available to me
Yeah.
at the drop of, like, soon to be implanted probably in your body, at a minimum at your thumbs.
Yeah.
Anything you want to know. And if Henry Ford, that was one of his biggest claims to his success. I don't need to know everything. I just need to know the person to ask that does.
Yeah.
Well, we have that now.
Yep.
For the first time ever as a species, we invented something that's smarter than us.
Yep.
And if you can figure out how to use it, why do I need to know anything about mathematics?
Yep.
Why do I need to know anything about history?
Mm-hmm.
Why do I need to know anything about business?
Yep.
I can just ask the technology. It'll go through every piece of text that ever existed and extrapolate the answer for me.
Yep.
The only thing that school brings is a social component.
Yeah.
And because of technology, that's changing too.
Yeah.
Well, my 12-year-old lives in a virtual world.
Yeah.
All 12-year-olds live in a virtual world.
My son's always on Roblox.
Roblox. And I listened to the CEO of Roblox. He's happy to have him.
Yep.
Doesn't see anything wrong with it.
Yep.
And that generation has grown up that way. So in a short amount of time, they're going to be in charge of the world. What's our world going to look like?
Yeah.
They would all rather be a digital person.
Yeah.
They have their headsets on. They're communicating with their friends. That's the social aspect.
Yeah.
What jobs are they going to have to do?
Yeah.
We already know we're not going to need doctors anymore. We're not going to need lawyers. Go down the list. Eventually, all jobs will be taken. At some point.
Yeah.
Let's just say it's 20 years down the road.
Yeah.
So are you going to invest 20 years of your life and potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars for a traditional education, for a lifestyle or a way of living that doesn't even exist?
Mm-hmm.
Like when I went to college, never even heard of Roblox,
Yeah. Yep.
but it's here now.
Yep.
And it has every 12-year-old on the planet that's been exposed to it hooked. Hooked. And they're monetizing it in there.
It's true. Well, and I think that's what's so important about setting the example and doing all of the things as small as taking your shirt off in front of your boys. Because at the end of the day, what's going to happen is, right, the strong survive. So my thought process behind me being physically strong, mentally strong, spiritually strong, is I'm going to be able to show my son how to be a man, like you said, but I'm also going to be able to show my daughter who to look for in a man when she's older. Because if I can do that for them, I know that they'll be fine. The strong will survive. So it's up to me to show them how to be strong. And, you know, when it comes to being physically fit, walking around with my shirt off, they're going to see, oh, dad's muscular. Okay, so when my daughter grows up, I should probably find a guy like that. But she's also going to see how I provide for my family, how I'm hustling, how I'm working. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm working on my businesses. I'm working on everything that I'm working on to financially pay for everything that they have and take care of them. She's going to see that. And she's going to go, okay, I should look for a man who knows how to take care of me in that way too. Well, my son, right? My son does spend a lot of time on Roblox. So there is a, you know, my wife and I are really working on getting him to read more. And so my son, I talked about it before, my son's got autism, right? I mean, you wouldn't really be able to, if you met him, you wouldn't really be able to tell unless you knew, like he's very high functioning. He's fine. Like, you know, I mean, every kid with autism is fine, but he's not severe, right? He can talk regular, everything is fine. He'll be fine. But, you know, it makes him more obsessed with Roblox. So we've been trying to get him onto reading books. So like the other day, I had him read the Constitution. He's big into old stuff. Doesn't like anything new. Doesn't like new cars. Doesn't like new movies. All of the movies that he watches are from 40s, 50s, all the way up to like the 80s.
That's funny.
He does not want, no, I don't want to watch a new movie. Maybe if it's like a cartoon, but if it's not, if it's a real people movie, no, it's got to be old. It's got to be black and white, preferably, right? So he likes all these old things. So I had him read the Constitution. I'm starting to have him read either forms like things about the government and like what it was formed for, because we're obviously starting to, you know, lose out on that stuff when you go down there. But
We'll really be talking for hours.
But, you know, I'm trying to throw in these things for him to show him like how the real world really is, because yeah, in 20 years and 30 years, it's going to be obsolete for him to be any, like, you know, I mean, I want him to be whatever he wants. I'm going to support him, but I'm going to also, I think it's my responsibility to show him, hey, if you want to thrive, not just survive, because a lot of people in this world are just surviving. They're barely making it by, or even the ones who are working hard and the ones who are making a lot of money, they're just surviving because they feel like shit. They don't like how they look in the mirror. They hate how they can't give it to their wives every day. They have, right? Everybody is just kind of getting by and surviving, even the people who are doing quote unquote well and successful. So it's like, how can I show my kids how to thrive? That's my goal as a father, to show them how to really experience life at a truly high level and be able to enjoy everything and live a life of, I don't want to say no regrets, because it's pretty cliche, but live a life of no regret. Get to the end of their life and be like, hey, I fucking did everything I wanted to do, and I feel great. And I'm happy and I'm blessed. And you know what? The reason why I'm here is because of the habits and everything that my father instilled in me when I was a kid. That's why I got there. That's my goal, is for me to be able to provide that to them, and them be able to really say that I made the impact on them to thrive in their life. So,
Well, I think that those are the timeless qualities.
yeah.
Right? No matter, like, even if we do end up in digital world and everybody plays Roblox all day long, in order to be the best Roblox player, which there is a financial incentive to that,
Yeah.
you got to grind and you got to hustle and you got to think outside the box and you got to do things that most other players wouldn't do. The same rules apply.
Yeah.
I just don't think that their life is going to be like our life.
Yeah.
And I'm very hesitant with, not say hesitant, but I wrestle with how much time should he spend on there?
100%.
knowing that this is our future.
Yeah.
Or at least there is a future there for whoever wants to be there.
Yeah.
And if he's not spending time in there, is he doing himself a disservice?
Mhm.
Because his brain has already been wired that way.
Yeah.
All of the generations below us have been wired. Like,
Yeah.
it was a big deal for my generation to play video games.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys, it's going to ruin them. Get them off the video games. And we had, I don't know if, do you remember like the first like handheld devices?
I was born in the 90s. So
Yeah,
I'm still...
we're right behind me, right? Yeah. So like we had handheld devices.
Yeah.
They were like black and white screens. There was nothing special.
Yeah.
Now you can basically like do anything on a phone.
Yeah.
But I guess we turned out all right in a sense.
Yeah.
Now I say in a sense, it's our generation or the maniacs running this world that are bringing us into this technology fucking prison.
Yeah.
But as kids, what do? Because are you going to set him back by, like, who rides a bike? The kids don't ride bikes no more.
Yeah.
So am I going to spend 8 hours, 10 hours, 9 months, whatever the time frame is, teaching my son how to ride a bicycle when nobody else rides a bicycle? There's no value in riding a bicycle. It provides no service by riding a bicycle.
Mhm.
It's like, why would I teach him how to use a typewriter?
Yeah.
Where we're going is just on another level.
Yeah.
So as a parent, that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Because we've never, like, there's no generation that can give us guidance on what the hell is going on here.
Yeah.
Look, we talked about it already. Look what happened 2 years ago.
Yeah.
There was no precedent for that.
Yeah.
There was no mentor for that.
Yeah.
Not to mention what they did with the kids just by locking them away from each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
They created this butterfly effect, and we can never go back.
Yeah.
So it's a weird time to be a parent. It's a weird time to be a kid. It's a weird time to be alive if you really think about it.
Yeah.
What we're going through as people that are alive at this time in the world, they're going to be talking about it at some point.
Yeah.
Well, they might be maybe they won't be talking, but they'll be sending messages to each other about it
Yeah.
at some point.
Yeah.
And I've been having that conversation with people with the Neuralink.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a real thing. People are, oh, well, it's here.
Yeah.
People are already using it. And whether anybody wants to believe this or not, if you don't put that in your head, you're going to be obsolete.
Yeah. Well, have you seen have you been to Whole Foods recently where
No.
you can scan your,
Yeah, I heard about
they
it.
have like the payment chip in your, I don't know if it's in your thumb or palm or whatever, and you can just pay with your freaking hand.
That's Amazon.
Yeah. Right.
Right? Like I said, the world that we're headed towards,
It's crazy.
a lot of us aren't going to recognize.
Yeah.
And this is just everything that you're seeing in technology, which we've always known,
Yeah.
is already obsolete.
Yeah.
And it's generation, whatever it is. And there's generation, the next, it's only getting better,
Yeah.
and it's only going to keep going.
Yeah.
The speed is the part that's throwing people off
Yes.
because it's happening faster now than ever before.
100%.
So knowing all of these things, that's why I rely on health and fitness even more.
Yeah.
Because there's two things that I can control with how I live my life.
Mm.
How much I work out and what goes into my mouth.
Yeah.
Those two things are under my control every day for now. And that's what I hold dear towards.
Yeah.
It's that stability that keeps me from thinking about all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Most people have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Their brain I told you, that's why I work out every day. I'm a messed up individual.
Yeah.
Look at the kind of stuff I fixate on.
Yeah.
Right? Most people aren't even having these conversations.
Yeah.
They're happy being distracted.
Yeah.
They're happy with the illusion
Yeah.
but again, it comes down to perspective.
Yeah.
I took that red pill.
Mhm.
I can't go back now,
Yeah.
good or bad. So what I want to teach my kids is this skill set,
Yeah.
right? These underlying traits
Yeah.
that will apply to anything in life, but then also being willing to try to learn and adapt
Yeah.
because change is always happening.
Yeah. Yep.
And if that's the one, like you would hate for your kids to be stuck and not be able to advance and not be able to change and not be able to live out the life of their dreams
Yeah.
because they're unwilling or unable to process or move or change or learn or whatever it takes.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I'm showing them the most.
Yeah.
is that our world's changing, dad's changing with it.
Yep.
Like Instagram's a thing. Like dad's on Instagram.
Yeah.
He's got X amount of followers. Oh, my buddies at school saw my dad's page. Like dad, like this is what I'm really excited for. They're gonna see dad compete in a bodybuilding show.
Yeah. Yep.
And the only reason why I'm excited for that is because they never got to see me compete playing football or anything else. This will be something that they'll never forget.
100%.
Like how many dads could provide that to their kids? Like, look at your dad up there on stage, ripped, shredded, jacked.
Yeah.
Like, even though like that's the stuff I want for myself,
Yeah.
there's still going to be some pride there
100%.
for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And especially as men, C-Bum talked about it the other day. 90% of the quadruple million people that are watching his page,
Yeah.
like 90% of the attention that he gets, guess what? Like sex it comes from
Oh, it's men.
men.
Yeah.
90% of his interactions are with men.
I think it was like 96 or whatever.
Yeah.
He pulled up the thing.
Yeah,
I
right?
saw that.
So you're
Yeah,
showing
yeah,
that, right?
Yeah.
So what does that tell you? Every man wants to look like this.
Yep.
Every man values it. They all respect it.
Yep.
They all wish they could have it if they don't already, or they're trying to hold on to it, or they're trying to improve it.
Yep.
Like that's a huge part
Yeah.
of that. Again, it's not a vanity thing, but it's a byproduct of how you treat yourself.
100%.
You know, and like I don't do it for women.
Yeah.
I have a wife.
Yeah.
I'm happy with my wife.
Yeah.
That's not why I do it.
Yeah.
I do it because it keeps me fucking sane.
Yeah.
Because you can see where my brain can go. But in turn, I have a program, I have a routine, I have structure, I have discipline. I've never felt more valuable about myself.
Yeah.
I've never provided more value to other people.
Yeah.
And I can now guide them. And it's just a challenge of how do I guide more? How do I impact more? Because like I talked about last time I was here, if you impact enough people, you're going to be financially fine.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my goal is I don't have a dollar amount.
Yeah.
I just don't want to have to worry about money every day.
Yeah.
I just want to be able to do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Financial freedom.
Freedom.
But what I want to do is this.
Yeah.
So how do I keep doing it?
Yeah.
And that's where like the jerky comes in. It's like,
Yeah.
I love selling the jerky.
Yeah.
Why? Because I know other people like it.
Yeah.
I like it personally. And then when I give someone a bag and they're like, bro, this is the best jerky I ever had, I feel good about myself.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I told you. Not to mention, my face is on the cover or whatever. It's a trip, right?
Yeah.
But all of these things go together, and in my mind, is leaving your legacy,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is the best thing you could do for your kids.
100%. Well, that's true generational wealth. True
Yeah.
generational wealth is teaching your children the habits, the skill sets, and showing them how to adapt. Because if they know how to adapt, if they have a valuable skill set and they can provide value to the world, and they have the habits in line to keep them mentally and physically healthy, that is true generational wealth that they can pass on to their kids and their kids and their kids. Because if we become billionaires, in 2 generations, that money will be fucking gone. If we don't teach them the habits and everything that aligns mentally, physically, and really their ability to adapt and change with everything else, right? If we don't teach that, 2 generations down the line, they're going to fail. They're going to fail. They're going to falter.
Yeah, and anything that's given to people creates the worst outcome.
100%.
Like you want them to, like that's why they always say, right? Like teach your kids what you didn't know. Don't give them everything you didn't have.
100%.
And being the mentor, that's where it's at. Like, yeah, there's going to be times when obviously finances help and it eases things.
Of course.
But I could very well argue that finances are a detriment.
Mm-hmm.
The more you're given, the less you're going to work for it.
Yep.
And that's why when we talk about burning the ships is so important.
Yep.
When you burn that ship, there is no other alternative.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
if we're going to end on anything, it'd probably be that, no matter what you think life's going to be or how difficult things are going to be or how hard the challenge is going to be, burn the fucking ship and find out.
Yep. It's only one way to do it. That's all the way. And that's the only way. It's like when I quit my job, I'm burning that fucking boat. I ain't going back.
Yeah. And I always like to tell people, what's the worst that's going to happen? Like, what is the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah.
I was having this conversation with Taylor Kavanaugh. I don't know.
He's gonna
Right.
he's actually
Yeah.
gonna be on in next month in September. He's coming out here.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So we were talking about it. Like, we live in a country where, like, you're going to have a roof over your head if you want one.
Yeah.
You're going to have food if you want it,
Yeah.
even if you belly up fail.
Yep.
And how many of us have relatives, friends? Like, you might hit a crazy spot,
Yeah.
but if you have the skill set, it doesn't matter how bad the outcome, perceived outcome, the negative one that we always go to.
Yeah.
Because it's always like, well, what's the worst that's going to happen? Well, what's the best that's going to happen?
Yeah.
Let's flip that script. You know, we talked about flipping,
Yeah.
right? Like, what's the inverse of, what's the worst going to happen? Well, what's the best that could happen?
Yeah.
Fuck, I love my life. I wake up every day excited to work.
Yeah.
Like, I help a lot of people.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about finances anymore. I hit every dream I wanted to.
Yep.
I left a legacy for my family. Like, you're fortunate. People already know who you are. Like, people know who you're relevant.
Yeah.
You're educating people. You're changing people's lives.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't sound like a bad thing to me.
No. Not at all.
You weren't doing that at BMW.
Nope.
No offense with BMW. You know, BMW is a great place.
Yeah.
They got great jerky in Newport Beach, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my perception was I was like, look, at the end of the day, we're floating on the rock in the middle of space. I had a 1 in, I think Gary Vee made the comment, it was like a 1 in 10 trillion whatever chance for me to even been born a human. I could have been born an ant. I could have been born a fucking a bacteria.
Chimpanzee.
I could have been born a chimpanzee a million years ago, right?
Yeah.
I could have been the one to eat meat the first time. No,
see?
it's good enough. But at the end of the day, I'm floating on the rock in the middle of space, and I have an opportunity to really fucking do something here, and I'm not going to waste another moment of my life, and not becoming or not trying to become the man that I know I can become, even though I don't have the reference isn't there yet because I haven't become that man. I know that I can become better. I know that I can be like the guys that I see who I looked up to. I know I can be like them, and I know that I can form this version of myself, but it ain't going to happen working here. It ain't going to happen doing what I'm doing now. I got to take it to that next level and step my game up. And that mindset changed everything for me. Anytime that I'm down, oh, business hasn't been doing well, or hey, my son is this, or hey, my wife, this isn't going right, this isn't going right. You say, you know what? I'm floating on the rock in the middle of fucking space. The fact that I even have the opportunity to do this shit and figure it out and have everything that I've had and been through everything, make the connections, everything. All right, let's have some fun with it and let's thrive. So
That's like gratitude.
100%.
The one thing that we all need if you want to live that great life.
Yeah.
Just the gratitude. Gratitude for what you have.
Amen.
You know?
Amen to that.
Mm.
Absolutely. Well, I think we should bust out some
Yeah.
before we close this out. I think we should bust out the
Well, I
jerky.
brought you your favorite flavor. There's
Oh, I know.
two of your favorite flavors.
That is my favorite. So, Big John's macro snacks. Now, I've already tried some, and my favorite flavor is the anabolic window. But there are many other great flavors if you guys want to try them. There's Muscle Beach, which is honey teriyaki. He's even got barbecue chicken, which he doesn't have here with us. He's got the bench press, which is a whiskey barbecue style. If you guys would like to pick up any of these, I'll make sure to leave a link down below in the description so you guys can pick some up. But this, and this is no bullshit, dude. It is so tender, but not only is it tender, it's macro friendly. So I don't feel bad when I'm eating it, right? I actually feel better eating this than I do drinking a protein shake. Because I think Whole Foods is best. It's always best to get in Whole Foods.
Yeah.
So when I'm in need of a supplement and I'm kind of like, oh shit, well, when I have these on hand, I'm like, dude, let me just have a bag of jerky. Then I'm going to get in my protein. It's going to be from a whole food source, and it's going to fucking taste good. So I think this is a fantastic idea. And I think what you're doing here, I think you're onto something incredibly big and special, brother.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's basically meal replacement in a bag. It's jerky meal replacement. And yeah, you're always better off eating whole foods than a supplement. What I tell my clients is all the protein powder, the protein cookies, the protein pizza, the protein pastries, whatever the hell the protein is nowadays, it's all synthetic protein.
Yep.
So like your body has to go through a process to break it down a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And so this, if the alternative, like that's the alternative to what you should be doing, which is eating this. And the way that I've structured this is that one bag is perfect for one sitting.
Yeah.
So you don't have to warn like, oh, how much do I eat? One bag, one sitting.
Exactly.
That's your
what I
meal
love about it.
replacement.
That's what I love, because I'm big on portions. One of the biggest things that I preach to my clients is just understanding portions and food awareness. And so this is perfect because I'm that guy. If I want to, back me when I was 300 pounds, if I want a bowl of cereal, it's a box of fucking cereal. Right? So when I bust this open, it's like, hey, I can eat the whole fucking bag and then I'll still be fine. I love that. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on camera. Like I fucking genuinely love this shit. I already had to bust it open and start taking some.
Well, I know you ordered some a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
too. I know
I love this shit, man. Like this is amazing. So I like what you're doing here. But if we're so thankful to have Big John on the podcast again. And Big John, I don't know if you want to shout out your Instagrams or anything, where to follow, where they can find you.
So I'm at BigJohn_fit. That's my main page. I got Big John's macro snacks. We're at pop-up events all the time. I don't know when this is going to air, but I'm going to be a sponsor at the Muscle Beach Bodybuilding Show in September. And then I have ongoing events going on at Orange County Harley Davidson, Bartell's Harley Davidson. We're down at Sterling BMW in Newport Beach. There's events there that we're going to be at. And we're going to be in a convenience store close to you soon. I'm working on deals all the time. But again, thank you to Ole, thank you to Josh, thank you to everybody here at BSF Fitness. And you guys haven't been here before, and I was telling these guys, I'm not just blowing smoke because I go to a lot of gyms. This is one of the best fucking gyms I've been to. I love training here. The way that the equipment is, the workout, the environment. This is a bodybuilding gym. And I tell everyone, the best way for you to build muscle is train like a fucking bodybuilder. And the number one complaint, I don't want to be a bodybuilder. Good news. It's going to take fucking years. But follow these principles and train at a facility like this because it's going to help you be healthier a lot faster.
Yep.
And if you get too muscular, even better news. Take a fucking day off. Go back to eating the way you did before. That's the ultimate change.
100%. 100%. Well, super thankful to have you here.
Yeah, thanks.
You came out again, bro. I mean, I got to say this, like, the man that you are on camera, in person, it's crazy. The amount of respect that you have, how you carry yourself when you talk to people, when you're here at the gym, like when you're just conversating with people, you are genuinely a fucking amazing dude. And I'm not just saying that. I'm not, dude, when I went home when I saw my dad after, because I told you my dad follows you, and I was like, dude, Big John's the fucking shit. I was like, he's such a fucking awesome guy. So it was great having you back out here again. And guys, if you want to like the video, subscribe if you guys got value from this podcast. And if you would like to try some of Big John's macro snacks, beef jerky, the link will be in the description below. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let's fucking get it. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did and you got value out of this, make sure that you like and share this video, but also make sure you subscribe to the channel. So we're coming at you with a ton more videos, with a ton more guests, and also a ton more value. Have a fantastic rest of your day, brothers. Let's get it.